Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and this army showcase of the Heralds of the Scourge, the Death Guard warband. So here's the Heralds of the Scourge. This is pretty much the full army. There's one or two missing that are still on the painting table, but it's a rhino and another character model. But this is the garage's Death Guard army, and I thought it would be high time to actually try and get them all on camera and just try and go through some of the characters and through some of the units that we've got. So yeah, we'll head on and have a look through the core of the army. So a bulk of the force is made up with the Heretic Astartes, the humble legionnaire. There's 4 squads of 7. The one in front of you is the mainly melee focused one, made up of mainly out of the bits of the Dark Imperium set, but there's the odd other bits here and there when I've added in sort of extra boxes. So yeah, this one in particular, it's full of maces and axes and cleavers and flails. A little bit of shooty at the back there with a plasma gun and humble bolt gun, led in this instance by a champion with a power fist and demonic blade. Moving on to one of the elite slots, we've got a squad of 10 Blight Lord Terminators here. I do run them sometimes as 2 squads of 5, but I know that if you do run them as a blob of 10, people don't tend to like it very much because they're quite hard to get rid of at the moment. There's a mixture there of the ones that come with that Lord Felthius or whatever is, I forget his name, but I think that's it. A couple there to bulk up the numbers a bit, but and one of them is magnetised, so we can have all the long range weapon options like the Blight Launcher, the Reaper Cannon and the Spewer, but it's mainly what you see here. So I tend to run them if I do separate them. So the guy at the front there with the axe, he runs the squad that have then all got swords, and then vice versa. The guy's got a sword then runs everyone who's got axes. So just try and for my own brain really, but yeah, squad of 10 Blight Lord Terminators. Sticking with the Terminator theme, it's a squad of 6 Death Shroud Terminators led by Ulcerux, the Corpse Maker. So he's one of a few characters or that have got the nameplates from Versatile Terrain. Hobo Joe printed them off for me, and I think they finish off the models quite nicely. But yeah, so the Death Shroud, really useful unit. When they hit really really hard. They are one of my favorite ones to run. Just the whole thing, the style, everything, I like them a lot. So if you do see me about, then that's what I'm going to be running if I play Death Guard. They're going to wangle into a list somewhere. So yeah, that's the Corpse Makers squad of Death Shroud. Then we have the Mephitic Blight Haulers. There's 3 of these. I really like them as a unit. They're nimble. They can be a distraction, and they can, when they get in range, they can hit hard. I mean, Melter is Melter. You know, they're pretty useful. So I do like them, and again, try and fit them in where I can. So yeah, 3 a unit, whether one of them individually or as a unit, but there's 3 of the blight haulers on in the army. Sticking with the fast attack, there's also 3 of the fetid bloat drones. This one in particular has the flesh mowers, but the other 2 are just the standard with the plague spewers that come out of the Dark Imperium set. Again, I like to use them. They're again, shoot them at the table. The opponent's got to deal with them, you know, and they can be particularly frustrating to get rid of. So yeah, I do like running the bloat drones as well. Getting those legionnaires where they need to get to. There's a couple of rhinos. Nothing particularly special about them, but you know, again, giving your opponent 10 wounds to get through and just being a general nuisance, you know, it's worked on occasion. It's worked on more than one occasion. So again, I try and fire up, especially the melee squad of plague marines. I like to throw them up there with a foul blight spawn inside, that kind of thing, and just generally cause a fair amount of havoc if I can. So a couple of rhinos. The third one, that's the other one that's being built at the moment, just to pad that out. So I've got another transport choice. Finishing off the armour for the Heralds of the Scourge is 3 plague burst crawlers. 2 of them have got entry cannons like on this one. The other one is the one that's pretty standard with the plague spewers. So I've only recently got the ones with entropy cannons. All I've ever had really been the ones with the plague spewers, but what a difference it makes having the entropy cannons. They, again, it's a weird unit because when they hit, they absolutely hit hard. But the trouble is getting them to hit. For 10th, I'd love to see something like the Sisters Exorcist with the mortar, so like 3d3, something like that, because it'd be good to sort of get that almost guaranteed minimum amount of shots coming out the mortar. I think that would really help with the PBCs and sort of maybe see them a little bit more. Points wise at the moment, I think they're at 145, so they've dramatically come down since the start of when they first came out, being over 200 points kind of thing. But with how swingy they are, you can kind of see why. But again, I like them. When they hit, like I say. So, but anyway, that's the 3 plague burst crawlers. So moving on to some of the characters within the warband. This is Orgax Blythelung. He's a foul blight spawn. So he's almost an auto take in the army because of the relics that you give him and the fact that he's got all the sort of fight last and all the other bits that go with it. The auras you can give him in terms of extending the aura to sort of 12 inches. Really powerful. So I tend to run them as the ferryman, so I can use that strat. So I tend to try and run him up alongside the Blightlord Terminators or the Death Shroud, and try and get that melee squad of Legionnaires up in amongst it as well, because it's really useful to get him in amongst that and turn off any of the bits that your opponent has and sort of force them to make decisions as to where they're going to go. So anyway, that's Orgax Blythelung. So moving on to the Tallyman Vericidius Calgius. Really useful to run because he prevents me from having to spend CP to give on Vermid Whispers and things like that for Terminators to improve their attack roll. So really useful to have. I'm not always able to fit him in, but when I am, he's a really useful tool to have. So if you've not got one, get one. So the Plague Surgeon for the Heralds is Bactridius the Ferryman. He's either putting coins on your eyes when you if you don't make it, or he's hacking you up with that rusty sword. I'm not quite sure which I prefer, to be honest. But yeah, it's a shame that the Plague Surgeons for the Death Guard aren't as powerful as Votan or the infiltrator units with the medics and that kind of stuff, and the apothecaries for the Space Marines. You know, these guys were apothecaries, so the fact that all you're kind of getting, maybe 10th round the corner it might be different, but at the minute with these guys, all you're getting is a 6-up shrug, nobody to bring me back, all that kind of thing. So I don't often run him. I think he came with a conquest or something like that in the magazine set, so you know, it wasn't like I've gone out my way to get him, but I don't think I probably would. I think that's the shame of it, because they're just not as good as their loyalist counterparts, which is a shame. Otherwise, you know, I quite like the model. It took me ages to paint him because I wasn't feeling it, and then after sort of powering through, all of a sudden and seeing it all come together, in the end I'm kind of pleased with how it's turned out. So anyway, that's the Ferryman. So next up we have the Noxious Blightbringer. In 8th I used to use him a lot because he gave the extra movement to advance rolls and that kind of thing. Now I don't think I've had him on the table for probably most of 9th. Just didn't seem worth it, which is a shame because he's a really kind of cool model. He's one of the first ones painted when I got back in to the hobby, out the Dark Imperium box set. So, but it's a shame of it is he stays on the shelf and hasn't got a name. So there you go. That tells you a lot. Next up is one of the Lords, the Facustus Spatterblight. So again, it was a model that I wasn't overly taken with when I first got him, but now, yeah, I do. I kind of like how it's turned out. I don't use him very often, not really very often at all. I don't find what he brings to the army all that useful with the bombardments and stuff like that. But yeah, he's done enough in games to earn a name, hence he's got a nameplate there. So that's the Spatterblight. Next up we have Mulgus Falgoit. He's the playcaster, he's the psyker for the warband. I tend to run him with relics, so he knows the extra power. And yeah, I like the way that they run. I like the mortal wounds on the 12-inch sort of after rolling a 7+. I did like the change in 9th where they changed it to any 7+, not just on a 7. So that kind of thing. It was a good change. And yeah, he's essentially the Lord of Contagion's right-hand man. They don't often go into battle without each other. So yeah, that's the Planecaster. Next up is the model that I run as a Demon Prince. He's on completely the wrong size base. You know, it's a massive one. 90mm or something, because I think the Demon Prince is a 60mm or something. So yeah, but look, I don't really run him in competitive games. I only run him in narrative games, and he doesn't come out that often. But I mean, look at him. Just look at him. I don't want to meet that in a dark alley. I don't want to meet it in a light alley. Look at it. It's just got a massive guillotine and all kinds of stuff, and he's eating people and just nasty. But was I think my first 3D printed model that I've owned and painted up, and did enjoy the process. Yeah, it was good. I think the thing with Death Guard, anything Death Guard like this, you can just have loads of fun. It doesn't matter if you get it right, because you get it right, get it wrong, you've got it right, because it's Death Guard and they're horrible and they're all hanging apart, hanging together by bits of string and guts. So yeah, just have loads of fun with them, and that's what I've done with this. Hence the sort of blood down his, whatever that is, around his collar, I suppose. Yeah, so that's the Demon Prince. He doesn't have a name, so if you want to name him, drop some comments and let me know what you think. At the minute, he's just horrible, and that's how I like it. Next up is Typhus, the Herald of the Plague God. He deserves a nameplate because he's Typhus. I don't often run him. do occasionally more in narrative missions, although I have occasionally run him in competitive ones because of the extra psychic abilities he gives you. And back, you know, way back when he used to give Poxwalkers the extra buffs. Again, he's got the ability to deal those mortal wound outputs in different phases, and he is a useful tool to have. But I don't often bring him because I like to run the warband in a sort of narrative way, and he isn't the leader of this warband. He's the traveller. He comes around every so often. So that's Typhus, the Herald of the Plague God. And so finally we come to the leader of the Heralds of the Scourge, the Lord of Contagion, Captain Trips himself. I didn't want just a normal Lord of Contagion, so just kit bashed him a little bit with some parts that I thought might fit and were, if you like, suitably grimdark. But yeah, I really did enjoy painting this one up. He's always the leader. If he's on the table, he is the leader. There's no sort of getting away from it. If you know the reference to his name, then again drop it in the comments below. It's one of my favourites, so I've read it several times. But yeah, so that's the Lord of Contagion. That's Captain Trips. He always heads them up, and woe betide if you fail him. You just don't want to do that. Anyway, that's the Lord of Contagion. So that's a little overview of the Heralds of the Scourge, the Death Guard warband that we run here on the Wargaming Garage. There's one obvious missing piece, which is Mortarion. He is about to be built and painted, so it won't be too long before you see him on the channel. It's only taken me a year to actually get him out of the box, but never mind. So Mortarion will be coming soon. Mortarion will finish off the army and it'll be a nice showpiece, I hope, for the army. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit more detail about the Death Guard. Thank you for watching, and feel free to comment below on anything you've seen or I should maybe add to it or whatever. So anyway, that's the end of that, and I'll see you soon.